Ladies and gentlemen, a bit of a quick video today. Um, I'm sure as some of you aware, people who've got Twitter, Facebook, Tinder, and a lot of other social media apps, that there's been this new thing called the General Data Protection Regulation. Just been doing some research on it, and obviously it's quite a very long entailed regulation that they brought across Europe, which is quite hard to understand. So what I'm going to be doing here is just basically dumbing it down for you. All right, so here we go. What is the General Data Protection Regulation? I'm just so you know, for where this credit is due, I am dragging this off Wikipedia. Yeah, it's been sort of not very well known for its accuracy, but I've never come across anything that's not been faked, so I'm going to rely on it. I'm not going to copy too much of it because otherwise I'll get done for plagiarism, and I don't really want a copyright strike. So yeah, basically it says here the General Protection Regulation, or also known as the GDPR, EU 2016 code named 679, is a regulation in EU law on data protection and privacy for all individuals within the European Union and also the European Economic Area, known as the EEA. It also addresses the export of personal data outside the UK and outside the EU and EEA. The GDPR aims to primarily give control to citizens and residents over their data, over their personal data, and to simplify the regulatory environment for international businesses by unifying the regulation within the EU. I did read quite a lot of it. Just a few minutes ago. This is what sort of prompted this video, because I know that some people have been thinking now, well, what is it? Well, what can I do? What is it? What is this thing? Why am I having to do this now? Why is it not done before? Well, basically, obviously, as you know, earlier this year we had the Facebook hacking scandal, and Mark Zuckerberg obviously had to, apologize for millions and millions and millions of Facebook users, including myself, the data being leaked and their data becoming, at the forefront of vulnerability, and also all of our personal information, like our messages, pictures we upload, our personal data information, like the year we're born and where we live, all of that being exposed to these people who we don't know. So I'm guessing this is what kind of prompted this this new form of data protection, really. Basically saying here, for lawful basis for processing, unless a data subject has provided explicit content to data processing for one or more purposes, data protection, and for more purposes, personal data may not be processed unless there is at least one legal basis to do so. They include, for the legitimate interest of data protection, data controller, or a third party, unless these interests are overridden by the Charter of Fundamental Rights, especially in the case of children, to perform a task in the public interest or in official authority, or to comply with a data controller's legal obligations, to fulfill contractual obligations with data subject, to perform tasks at the request of a data subject who is in the process of entering into a contract with a data controller. See if you try and make any sense of that, because I sure don't. or to protect the vital interest of a data subject or another person. So what that seems like it is, it's for the censorship, really, for what we do with our data, and also for, I think it's kind of pretty much, it's basically trying to, saying that, this is going to involve like pornography sites as well. So fuck knows how that's going to work by here. But yeah, especially when it says here, for lawful basis of processing, where it says here on point number 1, saying for the legitimate interest of data controller or a third party, unless these interests are overridden by the Charter of Fundamental Rights, especially in the cases of children. That's actually quite relevant, because I actually saw a headline today, which WhatsApp are going to be banning under 16s from using their app. Unless given with the exception of either parental or carer permission. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that's a bit harsh. I get what they're trying to get at. That they're going to be more in control of their own data, so they can do more of what they want with it. But the practicality of that it's not that great, because let's say if 11-year-olds first day at school, secondary school, they don't have Facebook, because obviously you have to be 13 for that, and they don't have Twitter, or they don't have any other form of social media, but their parents don't really know, they're not that too tech savvy on WhatsApp, so they have like old Nokia bricks or whatever. And well, they do have touch phones, but they know of WhatsApp a bit, but they don't really know much of it. What if that person goes to school and they don't have any network connection? Well, network connections make either simple SMS, text, or calls, via the network, and all they've got is school Wi-Fi to contact the parents and via WhatsApp, and they're trying to say, well, we're going to ban your kids from using WhatsApp. I'm going to be asking a lot of questions about that, because that's kind of taking it to a bit of a dark level, because that's a bit harsh. You can't really ban kids when they need that form of communication. You can't really go banning kids from using them. Sorry, but it's a bit, it's kind of making them a bit more vulnerable than you kind of already making them more vulnerable as it is, really. So it's kind of like, well, just to add a bit of, a shield for them. No, allow them to use it. But I can see the reasons why, though, but not really practical. But here's the thing: by this new general data protection regulation, there are restrictions on for what it could do. Is the following cases are not covered by the regulation, such as lawful interception, national security, military, police, and justice, statistical and scientific analysis. Deceased persons are subject to national legislation. There is a dedicated law on employer-employee relationships and processing of personal data by a natural person in the course of a purely personal or household activity. Conversely, an entity, or more precisely, an enterprise, has to engage in economic activity to be covered by the GDPR. economic activity is defined broadly under European Union competition law. Yeah, by the looks of it, it's not really had that much of a great reception, because now that they're the EU are sort of saying, even though we're leaving, Brexit, Brexiteer, me, even though we're leaving it, I think that's kind of giving off the wrong message. I'm not going to lie, but I think they need to, they need to really, like, they need to revise this, I think, because what they're saying is we can do what we want with our data. We can set it how we like. I'm sorry, but don't you think that's a bit extreme? Because I lost the page on my iPad here. So the General Data Protection Regulation 2018. Basically, there are some snakes out there who do falsify their own data, and this is a massive risk that they're having to take. Yes, we are allowed by freedom, we can do what we want with our data now, and it's like we finally have that manipulation and control that we've always wanted, and having it stored the way we want to store it. Because that's essentially what this new act is covering, what this new regulation is allowing us to do. It's kind of like when you just turn 18 and then you're allowed to have access. You're allowed by law to have access to your savings, and you can have that, and it's all yours. You can, like I've done with mine. I've had the access to mine since 18, and I've scored quite well with it. But at the same time, I think this really does need a bit of a revising, especially when there's people out there who are going out on Facebook, and there are thousands upon thousands of fake accounts getting made every single day. And if there aren't tighter regulations and tighter restrictions upon this new legislation, I do think that it is going to be fundamentally flawed, if you ask me. And I'm not being funny, but it does need to be revised. I'm sorry, but the EU needs to gather. They need to like meet up again. They need to sort of like sit down and have a cuppa and say, well, look, it's not going to work. They say, well, there's too many things, there's too many risks at stake, and especially with, and I'm not trying to make this sound like I'm picking on the elderly or picking on anyone who's less of a mental ability, because obviously, as people closest to me, I have autism. You've seen it on one of my other videos. But I think for when you're releasing this sort of thing to us, and you're putting it out there for everyone else to use, and you're saying, well, you're in control. There are some people out there, like, some maybe of the elderly generation who haven't been brought up the way we have around technology. They've been brought around pen and paper and, crosswords and Scrabble and everything else. Whereas we've been brought up around, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, the old lot, you know what I mean? And I think really this does need a bit of needs a bit of a rethink, because there's some people going to be out there who are not going to know what to do when they go and set up an account, and then they could then only then by themselves make themselves more vulnerable, because they don't exactly have a full understanding of how their data is managed online, and they're not really but they feel like they have no choice but to do such a thing. Like, I don't know, maybe let's say which I do, have my nan that lives in the central southern France, and the text and phone calls aren't cheap, but Facebook is. It's free. It's a free to use social media service, which is excellent. It's what we need. It's what it's great. And let's put it this way, you know, the amount of the amount of messages, should I say, and calls I have on Facebook is far more dramatic than I would do by my normal phone number. So this, so it's just like, for where these sites have its, where it has its high points, it does also have its low points. Yes, great for free connection. It's great for especially communicating over extreme long distance, i.e. from country to country. But the low point of it is now that we're having more control of it, it's about trying to get people to understand how it works, and having to sit down with them and saying, "Oh no, you need to do this, you need to do that," because this is a this is a new regulation. Whereas kids these days, they need to be more informed in school, and there needs to be more resources for the protection of social media, about how their data is displayed and how they do display it, because obviously you don't want to give too much away. And whatever, like on my Facebook, my actual job, that's not on there, because I don't really like the feeling of someone knowing where I work. And especially with me running a platform like this, I don't really want people just kind of like thinking, "Oh yeah, all right, we're gonna we're gonna wait and see what he does. Oh, that's his job. Let's let's see if we can spot him." So I'm just saving myself from that. So I took my actual job description out of it and left an old one in, which was my forex trading. So I kind of just so I've kind of got away with that. But I'm not too bothered about my age or whether I'm in a relationship or not. I'm not really bothered, about for seeing where people know where I live. Cullompton, it's a shithole. You don't want to come here. Fuck it. That says a lot about the place. Trust me, I lived here all my life. So yeah, it's kind of like, well, there's a lot of flaws with this new Data Protection Act, and it's ridiculous. But what I'm going to do is, down below, I'm going to leave the link for the Wikipedia link for anyone to have a bit of a gander at, just have a bit of a browse and whatever, thinking, well, yeah, I do need to kind of read up a bit more about it. But in all summary, yeah, it's kind of pushing it a bit. It's a bit of a watershed moment, if you ask me, and I think this is going to be fundamentally flawed over time, and I think the EU are going to have to sit down and rethink what they do and how they deal with it, because honestly, it kind of goes back to the old Top Gear saying, it's been a bit ambitious but rubbish. So, well, we'll see anyways. Cheers, thanks for that. So if you're new, if you're new around here, then drop us a subscribe and a like. If you like my videos, give them also a like. Leave a comment for what you would like to see on the next video. And so yeah, I'll catch you all later, and enjoy. Bam. Goodbye.